This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're talking about Meet the Judge. Have you ever been in a courtroom? Okay, here's your chance to understand what it's like to be a judge. We've got a municipal court judge with us tonight, and we're going to talk about what it's like in real life. How often are judges working? We're talking particularly about municipal court, and we'll talk about how it relates to the other courtrooms like probate court and district court and circuit court. How does all that fit in together? How does a judge decide setting bail, things like that? Call in your questions. The 31 Law Call number, 256-536-0077. You can also email us a question. You can email a question on any legal topic any day of the week. You send it to lawcall@waytv.com. And when we get to a show like this, we will have some of your email questions live tonight. So getting us started tonight, we've got Will Leake from Timberlake and Leake. We've also got Matt Balch. He is the municipal court judge in Triana. I'm glad to have both of you guys tonight.
Thank you for coming up, Honorable Matt Balch. So municipal court, so city court. So we're talking about when my dog, the dog's out on the leash, local ordinance, misdemeanors, crimes of not punishable for more than 1 year.
Correct.
What else do you guys look at in municipal court?
Well, I think it's important to note that this is a court of limited jurisdiction, and it has to occur within the corporate town limits or where the police jurisdictional limits lie. And one of the things that is really, really important is that it's within the confines of those municipal ordinances or misdemeanor offenses. Now, we're going to speak a little bit, I think, down the road as far as if you're displeased with the result at a municipal court level, what you can do from an appellate standpoint. But yeah, it's limited in jurisdiction geographically and subject matter-wise.
So, of course, Matt can't talk about ongoing cases, and he can't give you legal advice, but he can talk about how the system works, and we'll go through some of that. So call in your questions, 536-0077. It's also, I think today it would have been your dad's
birthday.
birthday?
If I could, just my dad, Albert Balch, today would have been his 76th birthday. So if anybody out there is able to donate blood or platelets, we certainly appreciate it in his honor. And thank you guys for letting me mention that. Love you, Dad.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
We like to start our shows off, even before we get to questions, with a video. And we've got a video tonight. So take a look at this one. You're driving down the road and talking about acts of God. A lot of things on the road can be dangerous. It's slippery and you're driving in a rainstorm, so anything could happen. But in this particular case, we get a lightning strike. Everybody's okay in the vehicle that gets hit, but this car was severely damaged. How do insurance companies usually react to claims like this? Acts of God. Okay, Will, this falls into your area.
It's
car hit by lightning. Is the insurance company going to cover that?
There's nobody to turn to but your own insurance carrier. I mean, there is an act of God exclusion under a lot of policies, so it's important to go and look at your policy. Who does it? I get it. But, if there's an act of God exclusion, lightning exclusion, then they will not cover those damages. They could be crazy costly. So make sure you have all the coverage that's reasonably required or what you can get. On the other side, we've had a lot of electrocution cases depending on, let's say there's a strike and whether or not the power grid was able to withstand that. Was there any fire resulting in that? You see a lot of that out west, a lot of class action suits from that. You're looking at that in Maui as well.
Yeah.
So, whether, even though it's an act of God, it may be covered depending on the circumstances.
Interesting. Okay. Talking tonight about meeting the judge. Okay, you were talking a little bit about what sorts of things fall to municipal court in Triana. How many different municipal courts do we have around us now?
So Madison County is the 23rd Judicial Circuit, and basically there's 8 circuit judges, 4 district court judges. Those are elected officials. They serve, for state purposes. There's an allowance to create a municipal court. And that would, in Madison County, I believe we've got Triana, New Hope, Owens Crossroads, Gurley, with the largest being Huntsville. So what would cause something to be a municipal court versus a state court? And again, getting back to the jurisdiction, and also, I guess a good example would be if a person was operating a motor vehicle coming out of Guntersville, and they were pulled over for driving under the influence. Well, that potential DUI case would be handled in Guntersville Municipal Court. But if they made it to the unincorporated county, that misdemeanor offense would be handled in Marshall County District Court, spill over into unincorporated Madison County. versus the traffic stop being effectuated in New Hope. And so where it happened and what it was determines what court you're in front of.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
And you can have a lawyer, you can not have a lawyer. We'll talk about that too. Whether you ought to have a lawyer, even in municipal court, even things like traffic tickets, we'll talk about it. We've got callers waiting though. We've got Mike on the line with a question from Madison. Hi Mike, thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Yes. I wondered if all judges have to have a law degree.
Good question.
That actually is a very good question, something we were talking about earlier. As far as sitting on the bench in the state court setting or municipal court setting, yes, you have to be barred, a licensed attorney. However, the probate court, there are a few exceptions, I believe Montgomery County, but probate judges do not actually have to be licensed. Now, probate's an interesting area for people to, I guess, have matters in front of, namely estate probation and real property matters. So, and we were talking about if a person is displeased with the result, the appellate process would be to remove from probate to circuit court, which, if in a personal injury case where there's a death and you would open the estate and ultimately, be in circuit court.
We've got Betty on the line with a question from Madison. Hi Betty, thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
I have a question. If you were, well, I got a check in the mail and I cashed it, and now I'm looking to try to file bankruptcy, and I want to know, can that loan be put in my bankruptcy? Is that eligible?
It's going to depend on many different factors. Okay, so if you're declaring bankruptcy, they may want to go back, and we talk about in other shows about capturing back. But let's say you're planning on declaring bankruptcy, depending on what type of loans. What are you going to? It's Chapter 7 liquidation or reorganization, Chapter 11, and so basically under liquidation, you're selling assets subject to certain things that are preserved, and then some debts will be dischargeable depending on the nature and extent of the debts. Like student loans, they're not dischargeable. There's certain line items that are not dischargeable. Credit cards, probably will be, depending on if you filed within the last, I believe it's 7 years. So there is a statute of limitations as to when you can file again, depending on where you are, if you filed before, and depending on what the probate judge. So basically, will the judge take away all that debt or allocate that debt among the creditors and let everyone get a little something as opposed to it all being washed away? And that'll depend on your credit, depend on any assets that are being collectible. The trustee, they'll take assets, the trustee will gather those assets and then disperse them in accordance with whatever the judge's order is. So you want to sit down with a probate attorney because there are many different factors to determine whether or not that will provide you protection or not.
Let's talk a little bit about expectations for court. Some judges, when you walk in, they kind of talk to the crowd that's there, right? Especially in municipal court.
Yeah,
Tell me about that.
And I think it's important to note, like for Huntsville, there's 3 full-time municipal judges. They have dockets Monday through Friday in the morning and the afternoon, so it's a large volume.
Yes.
And some of the smaller municipalities that we mentioned, Gurley, Owens Crossroads, New Hope, Triana, those courts may meet once a month. And so the large docket and has to be handled. And so before the docket's called, most municipal judges will apprise individuals of their respective rights. You are entitled to counsel if the prospect of jail time is a potential. So there's affidavits of substantial hardship where you'd show if you do qualify, and the court will make a determination, okay, yes, you are entitled to counsel. I think probably the biggest thing is the difference with a case being adjudicated at the municipal court versus at a state court, like district court. They're both bench settings, and that means the judge is making a determination as it relates to the facts.
So no jury.
No jury.
You're not getting
Correct.
a jury.
Correct. Now, if you are displeased because you are constitutionally entitled to a jury trial, the next appellate level would be to remove it for what's called a de novo appeal to circuit court. And it's kind of interesting with municipal practice and district court practice. If you're displeased with the result, ultimately you can file that de novo appeal and put it in front of a jury. Rather than a judge being the arbiter of the facts, it would be jurors. Now, the court would still be the determining party as how the law applies, any sort of suppression issues, pretrial admissibility of evidence, that kind of stuff.
And Judge, when people come in your courtroom, let's say you meet twice a month, you've got a docket. What's an average docket of cases?
So I think if you just kind of spill it across the entirety of Madison County, the volume generated by Huntsville with their 3 judges versus the smaller, those of us that meet once a month, kind of in the middle is Madison. Madison has a presiding judge and an associate judge, and they meet Thursdays for trial settings and Fridays for arraignments. Mm-hmm. And so in the courts that meet once a month, it depends on the month.
Right. Right.
Huntsville, being the largest,
mm-hmm.
Most populous city in the state of Alabama, you're going to have a huge docket pretty much every day.
A lot of everybody, traffic tickets, speeding tickets, I wasn't going that fast, all that kind of stuff. They come in, officer comes in and testifies, hey, I put the gun on him.
Correct.
They're saying I wasn't going that fast. A lot of people trying. Are those the majority of the cases that you're trying?
So the bulk,
because you got security clearance, you got points coming up, people's
Yes.
license gets suspended, then you got security clearance, which is very important here in Northern Alabama.
With Redstone Arsenal, it is something that is quite frequently mentioned. I can't, this is statements made in open court. I can't have this on my record. And sometimes in various places, they may be just speaking about their driving abstract, but here in Madison County, potential implication related to security clearances for the arsenal. So it's interesting. Municipal practice is interesting because you have someone who is there for a noise ordinance violation, and they're like, hey, my dog was barking, I apologize, and the court makes a determination on how to handle that. Right. And compare and contrast that with someone who maybe was accused of operating a motor vehicle while under the influence, and they carry that security clearance, and all of a sudden it's a matter that cannot be resolved without a trial setting.
Does that weigh on you as a judge?
No, I think the canons of judicial ethics require you to be an independent arbiter. Now there's no question that the prosecuting body might take that into consideration, and the court would hear mitigating circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back talking more about Meet the Judge. Call in your questions. Be right back.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call, where lawyers come to help. Your rights, your calls, live. Hosted by family law attorney Sharon Dovia, with the personal injury attorneys of one of the Valley's most respected law firms, Timberlake and League. Featuring the knowledge of managing partner Michael Timberlake, with millions of dollars awarded to his clients, and the experience of attorney Will League, a strong courtroom fighter known for his commitment to winning, and the fellow partners of Timberlake and League Heath Brooks and William Meservey. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Dovia. It's Meet the Judge night. We have got with us Judge Matthew Balch. He is the municipal court judge in Triana. We've also got Will League with Timberlake and League. They're personal injury attorneys. And we've got callers waiting. We've got Bobby on the line with a question from Athens. Hi, Bobby. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Yes, I got a question. I was on summer vacation early this summer, and we were sitting at a red light, and we got rear-ended in a rental vehicle by a police officer.
Ooh.
And since then, our insurance company's been reaching out to that city's police department, but they failed, so it's about to fall on us. And we were just trying to see what kind of steps we could take to avoid that.
All right, so you were in a rental car, Bobby?
Yes, sir.
All right,
And hit by a police officer.
And so,
Yes.
so you're trying to get the vehicle fixed. So, if the police officers, if the city will not respond, what I would suggest is go ahead and go to your own insurance carrier. Maybe there was insurance on the rental car itself. Sometimes that carries over onto your personal insurance, depending on what deal you worked out with the rental car company. But if you go ahead and turn that insurance claim over to your own carrier, let them fix the car, then let them go get their money from the police or whoever the municipality is that insures that particular police officer. And that way you're not stuck in the middle of it. Your rates could go up, you'll lose your deductible, but once the payment's made by the city, you'll get your deductible back, and then you're good to go. But again, you taking on that fight is taking up your time, energy, effort, money, but put that on your insurance carrier as long as you have it, and then they'll pick up that fight for you.
Well, and let me jump in on
Yeah.
that. The only thing I would offer is that's not going to be in municipal court. So
Okay.
Right.
That's not where that one's going.
that's not.
And if there's, if there's injury, then obviously you can make an uninsured motorist claim, but you want to talk to a lawyer about trying to file it, then they will have to answer that complaint, and then you can find out who their carrier is and make a claim that way.
The kind of cases that are going to wind up in municipal court, so lots of traffic tickets,
moving violations,
DUIs,
ordinance violations, moving violations,
misdemeanor crimes, right?
Yes,
so that's like what?
The range of offenses that cannot carry more than 365 days. So there's a cap. In the state of Alabama, you have felony offenses, cannot be less than a year and a day, so it's capped, and then those that are under. Most municipalities actually have an ordinance which limits for like a Class A misdemeanor to 180 days and $500 fine. So
But that
examples
would still ruin your life,
Yeah,
right?
well,
Spending a half a year in jail would still
Well,
be
it's
bad.
a long time. As a baby lawyer, I had a SWAT team case where my client had a standoff with the SWAT team, and it was a big to-do, and he was charged with a misdemeanor assault. And we tried the case in municipal court here in Huntsville. It was a long trial. And back then, as a baby lawyer, we just, you would go and take the cases that you were appointed to. Remember those days?
Threshold practice,
right.
whatever crosses the threshold.
That's right. And we were in a municipal court, and it was limited to a year because he was charged. I think back then it was a Class 3 assault. Assault third.
So assault in the third degree
was a misdemeanor.
Well, and I would mention there's something else that's interesting as far as municipal and district court. They're not courts of record. If you watch on television or you watch a movie, there's the court reporter. There's a person taking notation of the testimony that's offered, and also vested as custodian of any evidence or exhibits that are introduced. Municipal court is not a court of record. Neither is district court.
Now, you can bring in every now and then if we've got a case that it's going to be tried. Then sometimes we'll bring in a court reporter to take it down for our purposes for appeal or whatever we're trying to use it for.
I think you would say that's with leave of the court, correct?
Yes, absolutely. That's right, Judge. if the judge allows it.
We got this email question. This is from Chris. Chris wrote in, I know it's a bad idea to try and represent yourself in court in most cases, but is there a level of the system besides small claims court or a type of trial where an average person would be okay representing themselves? Okay, municipal court.
When you see when they come in, are they anybody doing a good job for themselves?
I will say in my time, both on the bench, but then also in private practice, I've seen some individuals handle themselves very well. Where I think all three of us are in agreement, it would not be advisable for you to represent yourself. The importance of having counsel that's neutral and detached and can look at what the evidence shows versus having a vested amount of emotional currency in the action. So.
Yeah, and you just don't know the rules of hearsay. All the rules of court apply,
that's
right?
an excellent point. One of the things that's important for the judge to control, and I use that term in an appropriate way, is the proper procedures, the flow of the trial, the admissibility of evidence, the Alabama Rules of Evidence, Alabama Rules of Criminal Procedure. A layperson may not know those, and it's not uncommon to have a person who is pro se, meaning representing themselves, to say in a moving violation trial. Well, I don't really have any questions for the officer, but I'd like to tell my side. And while that may feel good, it doesn't necessarily introduce evidence that speaks to whether or not you committed the offense that you were alleged to have committed.
Yeah, let's say you got a pro se plaintiff or a defendant comes in and says, I've got the photographs, Judge, and I want to show them to you. This proves my case. If they can't say the magic words and how to get over the rules of evidence, or are the rules of evidence relaxed in lower courts such as municipal and district court?
I think it would be inappropriate for me to speak about any courtroom other than my own.
Okay.
I do know that the vast majority of municipal judges will not grant an allowance, but be more understanding as it relates to a person's knowledge of the rules.
What you're talking about, you've got the photo, but if you can't say when you took it, that it represents what it's supposed to represent. There are all kinds of little rules that you think, it's simple, I got the picture. That's what it is. That proves my case.
Important words, does this properly display the events that you were testifying to? So.
Mike is on the line with a question from Huntsville. Hi, Mike. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
I need to know if I got a case. My wife and I was in a car wreck in February.
Okay.
and a woman hit us in the rear end and smashed the whole car up. And the towing company got the car, didn't let us know who had the car. And 30 days later, we'll get a letter in the mail saying that they sold the car to another dealership, and our insurance company didn't even pay for the car to be fixed or nothing.
So the
I need to know it.
Yeah, car is towed off, and they won't even tell you where the car was taken, and then it's gone.
Right, yeah, they sold it to a car dealer.
Mike, did you have a police report?
Yeah, I got a police report.
Did the police report not indicate who towed it and where they towed it to?
No,
Okay, normally that
Wow.
should, so you should find out from the investigating officer if it was towed from the scene. Again, so this is not unusual when you got car wreck cases. You're trying to find out where your car is, what's the estimate, is it total, all those things. And while you're doing those things, it is in a storage yard, sometimes $20, $50, $75 a day. And if you leave it for too long, by law, they can sell it, like it happened in this case. And so where is your relief? You know, if the police officer didn't let you know where it was, you didn't do any due diligence, you may have a claim against that municipality. There may be immune depending on the particular procedures and how the officer responded. You want to go to your insurance carrier and see if there's a claim to be had there to get the fair market value of your vehicle, which is now gone. You may want to sit down with a lawyer and talk about a bona fide purchaser. Did that dealership know that that car had been in a wreck and that it was on hold for X amount of days? So you want to go and analyze all those things, see if you can get your car back. But I'd first sit down and talk with your insurance carrier. You can sit down and talk to a lawyer as well.
Good luck with it, Mike. Let's talk about, okay, can I be appointed a lawyer? If I can't afford a lawyer and I'm going to municipal court, will you appoint me a lawyer?
Yes, if you qualify, if you're deemed truly indigent, but also if the punishment for the alleged offense carries with it the prospect of incarceration. So,
Okay.
And that's an automatic if it carries the prospect of incarceration.
if you are not facing the prospect of incarceration, you are not entitled to counsel. And so that's one of the things that comes into play with a person maybe for, as we were talking about having a security clearance and having a moving violation. Well, they're not entitled to counsel, but they can retain counsel for even just that minor moving violation.
Will you give people extra time? What's the typical thing? If somebody comes in and says, I guess I ought to get a lawyer, can I have more time?
We are very blessed in the 23rd Judicial Circuit, Madison County, with excellent judges, and across the board, every judge goes above and beyond to make sure that a person's rights are afforded to them.
Let me ask you this. A lot of people come in, I want to dispute this ticket. They say we got 30 seconds left. What do they not want to do when they come in front of a municipal court judge? Come in flip-flops and dressing crazy?
I think the canons of judicial ethics sort of limit my response, but I would say be mindful that decorum is important.
Respect, respect. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back answering more of your questions about meeting the judge. If you'd like more information about judgeships, get in touch with the Alabama Judicial Inquiry Commission out of Montgomery. The number is 334-242-4089. Also check out jic.alabama.gov. Here's how to get in touch with the Will League with Timberlake & League. They are personal injury attorneys, so everything from car accidents to medical malpractice. 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com, and if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And our own family law attorney, divorce, child custody, Sharon Dovey at 539-7337, SharonFamilyLaw.com.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for coming up for us
Thank
tonight.
you
Sure
very
do.
much. It was a
Good to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Fun to see the other side.
That's right.
Everybody have a safe week. Thanks for your questions.